This week's Parsha is called Yithro. That's the Hebrew way to say Jethro. And Jethro sounds so funky, though, especially after the Beverly Hillbillies, so. Oh, well, Jethro or Yithro in the Bible is quite an interesting character. But that's not all we have in our portion of Scripture this week. Oh, no, we have the gathering of the children of Israel at the base of Mount Sinai, and then the giving of the Ten Commandments. And so this is really quite the story here this week. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Jethro and his things. And I spent some little time just, pondering and contemplating. And then I decided just at the end, we're just going to read the entire account of basically chapter 19 and 20 of Exodus. And we're going to just go through that together, the entire experience of the mountain and the giving of the Ten Commandments. And so that's what I'll do, and then I'll just finish up with a little bit at the end. But we begin in Exodus 18. By the way, again, this is New Jerusalem Version, copyright 2022 throughout. Now Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for his people Israel, how Yahweh had brought Israel out of Egypt. We're going to get there, but eventually I just want to remind you that, remember, Moses escaped from Egypt, went way out there so he wouldn't get killed, and ended up finding this guy. But we'll get to that. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, received Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had sent her away, with her 2 sons. The name of the one son was Gershom, for Moses said, I have lived as a foreigner, or as a ger, in a foreign land. That's why Gershom. The name of the other one was Eleazar, for he said, my father's God, Eli, my God, I don't know exactly how that one works, was my help and delivered me from Pharaoh's sword. Verse 5 and 18. So Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, came with Moses' sons and his wife to Moses into the wilderness where he was camped at the mountain of God. So there's a lot of information in those last few verses, but we're going to keep moving. But I'll come back to him. He said to Moses, this is Jethro, I, your father-in-law Jethro, have come to you with your wife and her 2 sons with her. Moses went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed and kissed him. Moses obviously loves Jethro. They asked each other of their welfare, and they came into the tent. Then Moses told his father-in-law all that Yahweh had done to Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, all the hardships that had come on them on the way, and how Yahweh delivered them. And Jethro rejoiced for all the goodness which Yahweh had done to Israel, in that he had delivered them out of the hand of the Egyptians. It's been an awesome story up till now. You got this whole millions of people out in the wilderness, and they're pretty close to where Jethro lives. So he says, well, looks like there's a good chance. So verse 10, Jethro said, Blessed be Yahweh, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who has delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that Yahweh is greater than all gods, because of the way that they treated people arrogantly. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifices for God. Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God. So they're all getting together, and they're going to eat bread, have a meal. And they're kind of rejoicing to have this guy here. Okay, the first question I have in regards to Yithro is being the priest of Midian. Well, first of all, the Bible does not say what that means. Midian, however, was a son of Abraham by Keturah. Remember, after Sarah died, he married another woman called Keturah, and they had other sons and daughters, and Midian was one of them. Keturah was his wife after Sarah. Isaac was the blessed son that Abraham gave all his inheritance to. Remember that? And Midian was a son to whom Abraham gave gifts. Wasn't the same. Midian was sent away from Isaac his son eastward to the east country, and this is from Genesis 25, verse 1 through 6. I won't read that, but we all know that. The next time Midianites are mentioned is when Joseph's brothers sell Joseph, the son of Jacob, to a caravan of Midianites, right? So these guys are coming along. They got their camels. They're going towards Egypt. And so he is sold as a slave to them. Well, that doesn't seem like a real up-and-up kind of a deal to me. So it's a little bit shady, seems like. So they were Midianites, remember. These people do not seem to be the sort one would trust to be all that godly necessarily. So after that, these Midianites are mentioned when Moses flees from the face of Pharaoh. And I'll read the account. Exodus 2:15. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to kill Moses after he had killed the Egyptian, remember, hid him in the sand. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and lived in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters. This is the same guy. They came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. The shepherds came, nasty shepherds I might say, and drove them away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. When they came to Reuel, their father, doesn't say Jethro, does it? It says Reuel. Well, it's the same guy, but we'll get to that. He said, "How is it that you have returned so early today?" They said, "An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and moreover, he drew water for us and watered the flock." So Moses obviously looks like an Egyptian. He was raised in Pharaoh's house, still looks like an Egyptian. He said, this Reuel says to his daughters, "Where is he? Why is it you left the man? Call him that he may eat bread." So, and Moses was content to dwell with the man. Reuel, gave Moses Zipporah, his daughter. Then she gave birth to a son, and he named him Gershom, for he said, "I have lived as a stranger or a ger in a foreign land." Okay, so this Reuel is the same man that is called Jethro in our portion. He is called a priest of Midian in both places. I have always wondered what that means. I will venture a guess based on Scripture. My understanding is that the Jews generally think of him, modern day thinking, as another kind of priest of God, kind of like Melchizedek. And Lance actually mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. He was reading from the AENT, I think it was, a note that was in there. And the guy says, well, he believes he's another priest, kind of like Melchizedek. Well, I beg to disagree, and I'll tell you why. So the Midianites, while having Abraham as their father, were not known as a God-fearing people. They were not of Israel, and therefore were most likely idol worshippers. Everybody around that area that wasn't Israel was idol worshippers. So this makes Jethro sort of an unholy priest, I believe, not exactly a priest of God. As I mentioned in our Hebrew class last week, modern-day Jews have a tendency to whitewash the patriarchs and other biblical figures. This is because these fathers have been raised to the status of sainthood, kind of like, in their minds, and it wouldn't do to have them tainted by sin. The Catholics do this as well with the Christian church fathers. They make them beyond all reproach, they never sinned or whatever, but it's not true. It's just, once you want to look at them as this iconic person, well, then you don't want to attribute to them sin or unholiness or whatever. So this is kind of what happens over time. If you read the notes in a Stone's Tanakh, which I do read from occasionally, from Rashi and from others, Rashi was the sage that everybody, he's the number one sage that the Jews look to in today's world. And he's from, anyway, that's a whole nother topic. There are constant ways that the human foibles of these men are explained away. So you can kind of see why they wouldn't want Jethro to be some unholy priest. They want him to be a priest of God because you don't want Moses, the man of God, hanging around with some ne'er-do-well. You know what I'm saying? So this is why this kind of thing develops. But get back to my notes. This whitewashing kind of thing, this is even seen with the account of David and Bathsheba. And we know the story of David and Bathsheba. He has Uriah killed. He takes his wife, right? But the Talmud explains away David's actions. And they seem to say that he wasn't really so bad, really. And the Talmud says that technically Bathsheba was unmarried since her husband Uriah was away at war, and at that time these troops gave their wives a conditional divorce while they were away. So it doesn't really matter. It's okay. They're actually making excuses for this sin. This is whitewashing the truth. Okay, so that's not the way God says it, however. You read the actual Bible, what God says, when Nathan the prophet of God came to David, he said, "You have struck Uriah the Hittite with the sword and have taken his wife to be your wife." That's what God said to him. He did not say that, "Oh, well, it's okay." He did not say that. He tells the story about the little lamb, the man that had one little lamb, and you killed him and took his lamb. That's what David did. Well, the thing about David is he admitted his sin. In Psalm 51, it's the whole thing. Fully admitting, "I have sinned before you, God." So, at least with David, he knows when he messed up, and he admitted it. But, so moving on. So this is why I don't really believe that Reuel or Yithro was necessarily this big holy priest of God guy. Sorry, I don't think so. However, he was a priest of Midian. The Bible says it twice. And it could, like I said, it could make Moses like he's not so great if he's hanging out with this rank unbeliever dude. So, but I don't really think that Yithro was a rank unbeliever, though. Most likely, Yithro had worship of Elohim mixed in with the serving of these other Midianite gods. That's what I think. And that's the most to me, that's the most likely scenario. So, and there's a reason why, too. We're going to read this. The clarification of this matter comes in our portion. We just read it. Remember, in Exodus 18, verse 10, Jethro said, "Blessed be Yahweh, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who has delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that Yahweh is greater than all gods because of the way that they treated people arrogantly," is how this translation says it. But obviously he's coming to a recognition, a realization that, oh, wow, Yahweh is greater than all gods. And he kind of knows about some of these other gods too, I believe. So, but anyway, this is what happens. But I think at this point, he kind of comes around and says, oh, wow. You know, there's one true God up there in heaven, kind of a deal. But I would also say, if Yithro was already a priest of the Most High God, this would not have been a revelation to him, right? You know what I'm saying? So now he sees the truth of the greatness of Elohim beyond all other gods and acknowledges him. Blessed be Yahweh, right? So, by the way, that last verse is a difficult one. I looked at the Hebrew, and I couldn't quite really make sense of it. We already read Exodus 18:11 in the New Jerusalem version. Now I know that Yahweh is greater than all gods because of the way that they treated the people arrogantly. And I'm like, what? So then I go to the King James, and I'm looking it up in there, and it says, now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods, for in the thing wherein they dealt proudly, he was above them. You're still kind of going, huh? NASB, New American Standard. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all the gods. Indeed, it was proven when they dealt proudly against the people. Still not very clear. Then I said, well, okay, I'll check the NIV. I don't want to check the NIV. I don't like the NIV. Right. But the fact is that the NIV, it surprises you sometimes because it was made to be a version that gives you the sense in the context rather than the word-by-word accuracy. So I didn't like that because I love word-by-word accuracy. However, we're going to read NIV. They seem to have the best, clearest translation. So this is what they say. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all other gods, for he did this to those who had treated Israel arrogantly. What a great translation. It's perfect. That's exactly what it's talking about. So there it is, NIV. So kudos to the NIV in this case. There's a few other questions in this section that I wanted to talk about. What's the deal with Zipporah? You know, he's heading on the way to Egypt. We're going to read it. Why is she with her father and being brought back to Moses? The last time the Bible mentions Zipporah is right after Moses leaves her father Jethro to travel to the land of Egypt. God has called him. He's going to Egypt to help on God's mission to rescue the children of Israel out of the land and out of their slavery. But after they leave, while they're on the way, we have this weird section, and I still don't quite know what it is. This is the thing about the circumcision. Exodus 4:24. And it came to pass on the way at a lodging place that Yahweh met Moses and sought to put him to death. Okay. You know, he's like the chosen vessel. Now he's going to kill him. All right, whatever. But it's a really strange thing to have happening, I thought. So then Zipporah, well, she obviously knows what this is about. She takes a flint, cut off the foreskin of her son, which has got to be Gershom, and cast it at his feet. And she said, surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me. So he let him alone. In other words, God left Moses alone. He wasn't going to kill him anymore. So that was the issue, obviously. Still seems strange, but this is what happened. So then she said, you are a bridegroom of blood because of the circumcision. So this is the last time we hear of Zipporah until the children of Israel are out of Egypt, and Jethro comes bringing her back to Moses here in chapter 18. So God does not tell us the entire story. It's just we have to pick up the clues from what it says. So here's what we just read again, back from chapter 18. Now Jethro, priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for his people, Israel, how Yahweh had brought Israel out of Egypt. So yeah, that's already happened. They've done all the plagues, all the miracles, all the wonderful stuff. Jethro hears about it. Just can't keep this on. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, received Zipporah, Moses' wife, after Moses, had sent her away with her 2 sons. Now, in these olden times, it seemed like to me if you're sending her away, that's not just like get out here, I don't want to see you anymore. That's like almost a divorce. So she goes back to her dad, which is not a really good state. And then obviously Moses and Aaron go to Pharaoh and do that whole thing, but Zipporah's not there anymore. So then Jethro says to Moses, I, your father-in-law Jethro, have come to you with your wife and her 2 sons with her. Here we are. So he's like, can we get her out of this house and bring her back to yours? So he's bringing her back. He's heard about Moses and the children of Israel leaving Egypt. He knows they are close. There's a whole millions of people there. He's going to bring his daughter and her children back to Moses, which is a good thing to do. It must have been that after that weird circumcision episode when Moses sent her away, that sounds an awful like divorce to me, but maybe not. In any case, she was sent away, and now Jethro is bringing those two together again with the kids also. It does seem strange that Moses would send her away. It's his wife. So, I don't know. Anyway, it's possible he was thinking of the possible dangers they could find in Egypt. Well, you could say that. It does seem like he wasn't all that thrilled with her, though. So, after Yithro leaves, so I'm just not going to answer the whole thing, but it happens. She was sent away, she's brought back, and then after that she's staying with them while they're going into the wilderness time. So then after this, Yithro does the thing with the wisdom of how to set up the hierarchy of men to help Moshe. And I taught about that last time, so I won't do that this time. But it's a wonderful thing. Yithro obviously has wisdom, and he's obviously, I believe, walking with God, telling Moses from an outside perspective what to do. Moses is snowed under by the whole situation, so Yithro is doing something great. And but then Yithro leaves, and once Yithro leaves, the children of Israel move over to the base of Mount Sinai, and then the entire thing happens. So it's kind of weird. Yithro doesn't get to see this. He leaves, and then it happens. So, but here's where I just want to read the whole thing and just go through this experience together, because it's so awesome. There are so many amazing statements and details, and I don't think I will stop a lot in the middle of it. We'll just kind of read through the whole thing together. So Exodus chapter 19, verse 1, this is where we begin. In the 3rd month, after the sons of Israel had gone out of the land of Egypt, on that same day, they came into the wilderness of Sinai. When they had departed from Rephidim, that's where they were before, and had come to the wilderness of Sinai, they camped in the wilderness. And there, Israel camped before the mountain. So now they're at the mountain. Then, before they weren't, but now they are. Then Moses went up to God, and Yahweh called to him out of the mountain, saying, "This is what you shall tell the house of Jacob, and tell the sons of Israel. You have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings." God. You bet he did. This is how God describes it. I bore you on eagle's wings. It's awesome. And brought you to myself. Brought you to myself. Now therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, then you shall be my own possession from all peoples. And for all the earth is mine, and you shall be to me a kingdom of Kohanim and a holy nation. These are the words which you shall speak to the sons of Israel. Wow. So God is doing this. So Moses came and called for the elders of the people and set before them all these words which Yahweh commanded him. All the people answered together and said, "All that Yahweh has spoken we will do. Behold, I come to you in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with you." I come to you in a thick cloud. Wow. That the people may hear when I speak with you, and may also believe you forever. Moses told the words of the people to Yahweh. Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Go to the people." This is where we started reading in Hebrew class today. "Go to the people and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their garments. And be ready for the 3rd day. For on the 3rd day Yahweh will come down in the sight of all the people on Mount Sinai. You shall set bounds to the people all around, saying, 'Be careful that you do not go up on the mountain or touch its border. Whoever touches the mountain shall surely be put to death. No hand shall touch him, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through, whether it is an animal or man, he shall not live.'" Wow. When the shofar sounds long, they shall come up to the mountain. And he said to the people, "Be ready by the 3rd day. Do not have sexual relations with a woman." which is actually what it actually says in the Hebrew is, do not come near to a woman. And it came to pass on the third day, when it was morning, that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud on the mountain, and the sound of an exceedingly loud shofar, and all the people who were in the camp trembled. I'll get to that in a minute. Moses led all the people out of the camp to meet God, and they stood at the lower part of the mountain. There they are. And all of Mount Sinai smoked. The whole thing is smoking because Yahweh descended on it in fire. And its smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace. It was thick. It wasn't just like a little smoke going up. It was big time smoke. And the whole mountain trembled greatly. And when the sound of the shofar grew louder and louder, usually shofars don't get louder and louder. This one did. And it goes on and on and on, and louder and louder and louder. Moses spoke, and God answered him by a voice. Then Yahweh came down on Mount Sinai to the top of the mountain, and Yahweh called Moses to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. Verse 21, then Yahweh said to Moses, go down, warn the people, so that they do not break through to Yahweh to gaze, and many of them perish. Also let the Kohanim who come near to Yahweh sanctify themselves, so that Yahweh does not break out against them. Moses said to Yahweh, the people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for you warned us already, saying, set bounds around the mountain, sanctify it. It's all good, fine, everything's no problem. Yahweh says to him, go down! You shall bring Aaron up with you, but do not let the Kohanim and the people break through to come up to Yahweh, or he will break out against them. He's serious. So Moses went down to the people and told them. Exodus 20. God spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahweh your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. Whoa. Yeah. And this is where it all begins. You shall not make for yourselves an idol or any image of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down yourself to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahweh, your God, am a zealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, on the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, and showing chesed to thousands of those who love me and keep my mitzvot. You shall not take the name of Yahweh your God in vain, for Yahweh will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. You shall labor 6 days and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Shabbat to Yahweh your God. You shall not do any work in it, you or your son or your daughter, your male servant or your female servant, or your livestock, or your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore Yahweh blessed the Shabbat day and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long in the land which Yahweh your God gives you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, his male servant, his female servant, his ox, his donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's. And that's the end of the 10 Commandments. All the people saw the voices and the torches, the sound of the shofar, and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they trembled and stayed at a distance. They said to Moses, "Speak with us yourself, and we will listen, but do not let God speak with us, or we will die." It was that scary. Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid, for God has come to test you, and that his fear may be before you, that you do not sin." That's why it was so scary. The people stayed at a distance, and Moses came near to the thick darkness where God was. Then Yahweh said to Moses, "This is what you shall tell the sons of Israel. You yourselves have seen that I have spoken with you from the heavens. You shall not make any gods to be alongside me. Do not make for yourselves gods of silver or gods of gold. You shall make an altar of earth for me, and shall sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and your peace offerings, your sheep and your cattle. In every place where I record my name, I will come to you, and I will bless you. When you make me an altar of stone, you shall not build it of cut stones, for if you lift your tool on it, you have profaned it. And you shall not go up by steps to my altar, that your nakedness may not be exposed to it." So that's the entire story, chapters 19 and 20 of Exodus. And here is where our portion ends, right there. So, and as I've thought about this, I'm realizing that God is God. He is beyond us in every way. In wisdom, in knowledge, in understanding, in love, in righteousness. Sorry, I'm just collecting. As the creator of us and of the entire universe, he gets to choose how he does things. God chose to reveal himself to his people, the children of Israel, in this way. He could have done anything he wanted to. One of the reasons I'll keep reading. Not only to the children of Israel, but really to the whole earth he did this. Because this story got out. You know what I'm saying? And God knew this story would get out. So we have Moses. God first talks to him through the burning bush. Remember that? Which, by the way, is the same place as this event here. With the revealing of the 10 Devarim, God has chosen this place. Take off your shoes. The place where you're standing is holy ground. Exodus 3, he, God, said to Moses, "Certainly I will be with you." This is when God is calling Moses by the burning bush. "This will be the token to you that I have sent you. When you brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain." Wow. This is where it all happened. So Moses knows this place because this is where God originally called him. And then, after the children of Israel are out of Egypt, God is leading them by the pillar of cloud by day, by the pillar of fire by night, and this is where they end up, right here. And it's all God's timing. So that's one thing. And then you have the astounding drama of the entire scene. And this is very dramatic. The shofar, the smoke, the fire, the creator of the universe being unveiled and communicating in this way, the trembling, the shaking of everything, the whole earth shakes. When I read the Hebrew and it said they trembled, to me it sounds like they were really shaking. That word, the way it's used in the Hebrew, it's bigger. I just will say that. It's bigger. When it says they trembled, they really trembled. They were shaking in their boots. Their knees were knocking like an aspen leaf. It was just so overwhelming and scary. That's why they tell Moses to talk to God. You just do the talking. Let us just know what he said. It's way too much for us. That's how big it was. Anyway, like I said, God could have chosen any way he wanted to reveal himself to his people, and he chose this way. This whole scene does a lot. Well, and then the way he revealed himself to Moses. The burning bush that did not get consumed, and the way he talked to them, and then there was the angel was there and all that. I don't know. It's just interesting the way God does things. This whole scene does a lot to remind God's people, indeed all of mankind, of the magnificence and power of God. That's part of what this is all about. That's got to be at least some of the reasons why he did it this way. So, this is still a reminder to us today, not only of God's overwhelming magnificence, but also of the significance and eternal importance of the Ten Commandments. Because that's what happens as soon as all this amazing stuff is happening, the thing that comes out is the Ten Commandments. Wow. So, I lost where I was. Oh, here they are. They are not just going away. The Ten Commandments are not just going away, no matter what the rest of humanity wants to say. These are eternal truths. They don't just disappear, including the Shabbat. And regardless of how well we do it or not, it still stands. God's commands still stand. As you know, when we are born again of God's Spirit, we have God in us as well. It's the same God. Same God. He is just as magnificent now as he was then. But we can't stand the glory of that mountain experience to wake us up every morning, right? It'd be too much. In fact, we sometimes even kind of forget. We're human. That's one reason why we come together every Shabbat. Sorry. To remember who we are, who God is, to strengthen and uplift each other. That's why we're here. So, by way of reminding, I will remind us, remember, Romans 8. But if the Ruach of him who raised up Yeshua from the dead dwells in you, he who raised up Messiah Yeshua from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies through his Ruach who dwells in you. There it is. There's all kinds of things like this in the Brit Cḥadashah, and I probably should have picked more of them. I just picked a few. It's time anyway, so. Philippians chapter 2, verse 13. For it is God who works in you. Same God as was on the mountain. God works in you. Both to will and to work for his good pleasure. His good pleasure, not just yours. Not the pleasure of your flesh. It's his good pleasure. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. But we have this treasure in clay vessels. King James says earthen vessels. That the exceeding greatness of the power may be of God and not of us. That's why he put it in us. We're made of clay. But he's called us out of darkness to live in his light. We have a body made of clay. The exceeding greatness of the power may be of God, not of us. I don't know if I'll make it through the next part either. Because I'm going to finish up with Psalm 103. And, sorry. I know that this is Dennis's favorite psalm. And it's probably mine as well. It's so powerful and applies to what we're talking about right here, so I'm just going to read the whole thing. This is again out of NIV, so I like the King James, but we'll do it out of here. Psalm 103. Praise Yahweh, my soul, all that is within me. Praise his holy name. Praise Yahweh, my soul, and do not forget all his kindnesses. Who forgives all your sins, who heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from destruction, who crowns you with chesed and tender mercies. Thank you, Abba. I'm going to keep going. I love this psalm. Who satisfies your desire with good things. He does that. So that your youth is renewed like the eagles. Yahweh executes righteous acts and justice for all who are oppressed. He made known his ways to Moses, his deeds to the son of Israel. Notice there's a difference. Moses understood his ways. Israel understood his deeds. Yahweh is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abundant in chesed. He will not always accuse, neither will he stay angry forever. He has not dealt with us according to our sins. Hallelujah. Nor repaid us for our iniquities, which we all have. Verse 11. For as the heavens are high above the earth, so great is his chesed towards those who fear him. As far as the east is from the west, so far has he removed our transgressions from us. The east and the west never meet. Sorry. Why did I choose to do this? I don't know. I know it was the right thing to do, but it's hard for me to get through it because I love this thing. Like a father has compassion on his children, so Yahweh has compassion on those who fear him. For he knows how we are made. He remembers that we are but dust. As for man, his days are like grass. As a flower of the field, so he flourishes. For the wind passes over it, and it is gone, and its place remembers it no more. 70, 80, 90 years old, drop in the bucket, nothing. Just wind passes over, it's gone. But the chesed of Yahweh is from everlasting to everlasting on those who fear him. His righteousness to children's children, to those who keep his covenant, to those who remember to obey his precepts. Yahweh has established his throne in the heavens, and his kingdom rules over all. Praise Yahweh, you his angels, who are mighty in strength, who fulfill his word, obeying the voice of his word. Praise Yahweh, all you his hosts, you servants of his, who do his pleasure. Praise Yahweh, all you works of his, in all places of his dominion. Praise Yahweh, O my soul. So that's it. God bless you all, and Shabbat Shalom.